Hello, I'm going to give a quick update on Pablo's questions regarding unpaid groups and services to be paid. I'll explain to you why it works this way and see if there are areas for improvement. Here I have a group scheduled for September 2026. As we can see in the financial section, I haven't received any payment. So I have two options for conducting the analysis. Either I go to the dashboard and right away I land here on my pending payments. I'll go check the group and I look for September 2026, focusing only on September 2026. So as you can see, my group shows up properly. The amount is clearly displayed here. If I click, it will take me directly to the group. So that's the first way of looking at it. Here, it hasn't been paid yet. I'm going to go into my group and make an initial payment. Let's make a deposit. Here I have my deposit. Let's say they're going to pay 200. They've paid 200. I'm still in the status where the group hasn't been fully paid. So I have 200. I'm going to go back to my dashboard and return to my calculator. And you can see here, it shows me the remaining amount to be collected. There's no date except for the month. So here we are in the month of our client's trip, and that's correct. It refers to that. As long as you haven't marked your group as paid, you'll always see a different amount. Sometimes for reasons such as here, I'm going to enter the balance for reasons like bank fees or things like that. You might not have the exact amount. For example, here I'm going to enter 400 and 600. If you don't have the exact amount, you'll always see a difference here, which will be noted at 706. I go back to my dashboard, I search, and I do have my 706. However, if in your group you indicate that the payment has indeed been made, that is, you close it by saying, I am no longer waiting for a payment then. From the moment you say it's done, I have nothing left to receive, you go back to your dashboard, search again, and as you can see, I no longer have any payments to receive. So this screen only uses what you enter in your groups and in completed payments. It distinguishes between what you have received and what is still outstanding. And as soon as you indicate that your payment, that your group has been paid, then it will no longer look for that difference. So we're really working on the principle of it's recorded and therefore I'm waiting. It's not based on a payment schedule with dates, like you might see here, where I have 30% that should be received by a certain date and 70% that should be received by another date. We're not working with that kind of projection. We're really dealing with the actual situation. On the other hand, let's now look at the expenses section. So it's the same thing, by the way, for this group. If I go here, I'll check my logistics and see what it looks like. In my logistics, I have two payments to make. This is indeed my September group, and I'll go check to see what it looks like. I'll go back. So there are two options as we've seen. It's the dashboard here. I'm going to go a little further. So I'll go to the unpaid payments. And as you can see here, you have two options. So let's go back to September 2026. September 2026. I'll search by date. You can see here that this is the date of my service, the 10th of September, and I see the total amount I have to pay 360 plus 12. I can also select the payment deadline, and here with the payment deadline, I'll get different results, because if I look at my logistics, you can see that the payment deadline is in November 2025. So if I search by payment deadline, I'll get the information directly. So that's how it works. As a reminder, I mentioned that you can go directly to the dashboard here with the little plus sign, which lets you access information about your unpaid groups or services to be settled using this small filter here. You can let me know if that's useful, because now if I want to check the second place where you can find this information, it's in the financial section. And if I go to my credits and debts, I'll find my calculators here. However, here in the unpaid services section, I don't have that filter that lets me know if I'm the option to see by date. So here we're looking at the date, but we don't have the little filter here that corresponds to the logistics payment deadline. So we'll have to see if that's useful. And what you're pointing out here, Pablo, is the idea of having the same filter option for unpaid groups. Let me know if you're interested, but it's something I can bring up with the development team so we can have that information. However, we really need to look at the technical side to see if it's feasible. So we can get information about the projection of what we're supposed to receive and when. So it's not the same principle. I don't know if it's doable. And if you think it's of shared interest, you can let me know in the comments. But in any case, that's what it looks like and how it works. Just to clarify that part, I'll take this opportunity because I got another question about credits and debts. It's the same principle. In my financial section here, I can see my credits and debts were in the same place. Credits and debts with the little calculators, unpaid amounts, the total. And here you have the option to add a sticky note that gives you the information that you have a credit or a debt. So here it's very simple. You can do it directly from here, either a credit or a debt with a travel agency or with a supplier. Here you simply look for your supplier in the list. You click the little plus. And here you have the option to link it to a group. It's linked directly to my Albert group. And here you'll be able to enter the amount. You have an explanation here about whether to leave it as a negative or positive value, depending on whether it's a credit or a debt. And here you can manually add a note. You can absolutely add a credit or a debt from your logistics screen. I'm going to go to logistics. Here, I want to add a credit or a debt. Well, it's the same. You can do it directly here. So here you have the details to know whether it's negative or positive depending on the situation. You'll be able to add the amount, 234. Here you have the service information right away and you'll be able to save it. Once it's saved, you can go back to your supplier, because you also have, of course, the list of your credits and debts directly within the supplier, and you'll be able to say whether you've used it. Have I used it or not? So it's really like a post-it note system. You have the information and you'll be able to transfer it to a planned cost in logistics. And the advantage here is, as you can see, I've created a credit and you have this little button that's orange. And when it's orange, it indicates that you have the option to use a credit. It gives you a list of possible credits that you can activate. So it gives you information right here about what you can do. So you have the option either to adjust your plan cost by saying, I'm going to use my credit of 100. So I change my amount here, and then I go to my financial section and indicate that I've used my credit of 100. So from the moment you mark it as used, it will no longer appear in the list. I'll get to that. And that way you won't be notified about it anymore. Adding a credit directly in your logistics can slightly affect your margin. That is, if you have a credit and you activate it, you gain a little in margin. And for the previous group where there was a payment error and the supplier overcharged you, well, your margin will decrease a bit. You absolutely have the option, if you want to be as accurate as possible in your finances, to link this credit specifically to a group, for example, by adding a negative expense and consolidating your positive expense on the other group. And to do this particular action, when you simply click the prominent plus button, you can clearly indicate that you have indeed utilized the available supplier credit. And for which group did I use it? Here you will look for your group. I should find a test group. There we go. I'm going to use it for this group, and you'll be able to link it to a service. I really recommend that you link it to a service. For this group, I'm going to look for the corresponding service. So I'll search directly within the group I selected here. I'll pick another one just for testing. I'm not going to pick the same one. All right, let's take this one, and I'll look for the corresponding service to specify that I'm assigning this credit precisely to that service by saying I'm using 100, and it would be in your best interest to select the base service to use the minus 100. That means you'll be rebalancing your margins to achieve the optimal result. This way you have the exact result for each margin. If it's a small credit, it doesn't have any impact. But if you want something very precise regarding your margins, so that the credit or debt doesn't slightly alter the result of your margin by group, you'll need to do this manually. So that's the principle. So to get back to our principle of, there we go, here, credit and debt, you can find them directly here. To get back to unpaid groups, you can find them there along with the operating rules. And the groups here, the unpaid service use, you can find them right here. If you want to have the option of additional filters based on deadline, then you'll need to go to the dashboard, but we can definitely add that if you're interested. Click on unpaid services, and that's where you have the option to view payments according to the deadline. And let me know if we should consider an option based on the projection of deposits and balances that are tied to the date set by each travel agency. It's up to you to tell us if you're interested. But in any case, I hope this part is clearer now. Pablo, have a good day.